Our conversation now with Tricia Sibbons, Director and Head of Partnerships at Action for Southern Africa. And Tricia, the question I asked you is that this merger between Anglo American and Teck, what do you think it means in practice from your vantage point, sitting in London, and also the networks that you engage with in Southern Africa?
I think from a perspective of civil society, which is really where we work and where we support for justice, the questions I think are, why is Anglo investing elsewhere and not in Africa? Why is it not reinvesting? And I think that from the statements, I mean, I was at Anglo's AGM earlier this year. You know, the statements are positioned to reassure that there is investment on the continent, but in reality, we can see that money is not going back into communities where Anglo's roots are. Yes, they want to be out of coal. Yes, they want to be out of gold. They're talking about, green hydrogen, and that's essentially creating a market for its platinum resources. But where the big money is being taken overseas, and I think that's the concern of civil society and organisations like the Clow Maholi Foundation, like Makua, like Justice for Miners, who are saying you've got unfinished business here, and you need to stick around and reinvest here as much as you want to grow your markets elsewhere. I mean, copper in particular, that's getting back into Zambia, where they've left a terrible legacy of lead pollution in Kabwe. So there's quite a lot of unfinished business, I think, is what civil society would be saying.
What's the impact then? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, from our perspective, it would say that actually Anglo hasn't got its house in order, and I would say it's abandoning it's abandoning its home. It's abandoning the places that it made its money. It built its resources. That company, Anglo American in particular, is a company built off the back of colonial land grabs. And that had left organisations around the country like Makua and Justice for Miners trying to speak for people whose voices are still invisible. So it might mean great news for shareholders, but is that why that company exists? Is it just to create shareholder value? It says not on its website. It says it wants to be a mining company of the future. It says it wants to be a first-class mining company. And actually what it needs to do is listen to civil society in order to clean up its story from the past before it says, look at us, we're so great, invest in us. Clow Maholi Foundation would say that Anglo American's actually failing. It certainly positions some, business imperatives that Anglo promised that have not yet been delivered. From AXA's point of view, it's much more about what is the cost to the people of the continent, in particular in Africa, where it made its money, where it extracted and, for instance, produced no beneficiation opportunities, or very few. It's taking jobs away from the country. It's not putting them back in.
So Duncan Wanblad would tell you that at the same meeting at the Johannesburg Indaba, that Anglo American has committed $600 million in South Africa's Junior Exploration Fund as part of this Anglo Teck deal. Isn't that giving back in some way?
Well, it may be, but it's giving back to shareholders. How many jobs will that be? What communities will be consulted? How will the beneficiation develop out of those opportunities? There are lots of questions, I suppose. There are lots of questions. When does civil society get a chance to ask those questions in a neutral environment where those are taken seriously? As I say, it's a great presentation at Joburg Indaba for shareholders. That's what they're looking for. Are they looking for more civil society? I mean, where's the civil society shareholding opportunity, for instance? There are lots of creative ways that Anglo could be addressing this. And I think what civil society is saying, let's get in a room with government, because government clearly has a role to play here. Let's get in a room to say, what does it look like from your perspective? And I think the fact that, actually Anglo is an organisation that presents itself well, but when you scratch below the surface and talk to people on the ground, it's not such a pretty picture.
My understanding of mergers is not disinvestment, but a coming together. Is it not that Anglo Teck will still be in South Africa doing the operations that it's doing, but just under a new name?
Well, that's not good enough. It can't carry on doing the operations that it's doing. It needs to do better. I think that's the point, and it's not hearing that. It's saying we know best. We know how to decide what's good for shareholders. They're not saying how do we decide what's good for shareholders, good for the country. So how much of our earned profits are coming back as tax? It's not saying that. It's going to be headquartered in Canada. What it is saying is the policy environment in South Africa is not great for us. That's really what it's saying, and we need to look somewhere else.
Tricia, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thanks so much indeed for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's Tricia Sibbons, Director and Head of Partnerships at Action for Southern Africa, ACTA, saying that she's concerned about this Anglo Teck merger, which is bringing these mining houses together and going to be big in copper, it looks like, at this stage. Right, coming up after the 9 o'clock news, we have one of our favourite programmes called On the Move. And to tell us what's coming is Ms. Palliser herself.
Good morning.
So,
Good morning.
Good morning. What are you and Benjamin up to this morning?
Okay, we take a deeper dive into marriage